Hi, I'm Mr. Nicholson. Welcome back to another lesson. Today we're going to be talking about basket weaving. We're talking about basket weaving because it ties in closely with what we studied in our last lesson about the Uhaviatum people, or who we now call the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. If you remember, we talked a lot about how they use the natural resources around them to survive. We also talked about how they live really close to us. The San Manuel Band of Mission Indians is right in the foothills of the San Bernardino Mountains, which is very close to us. So let's take a look at some of the standards we're going to be covering, and then we'll jump into our lesson. Some of the standards we're going to be covering today include these from History and Social Science. We're going to trace the ways in which people have used the resources of the local region and modified their physical environment. We're also going to describe national identities, religious beliefs, customs, and various folklore traditions. We're also going to be looking at some visual and performing arts standards. First, we're going to look at historical and cultural context. We're going to be understanding the historical contributions and cultural dimensions of the visual arts. We're also going to look at the diversity of the visual arts, look at and discuss works of art from a variety of times and places. We're also going to make informed judgments and discuss how and why we make a specific work of art. We're also going to give reasons why we like a particular work of art that we've made using the appropriate vocabulary. Great. Now that we have an idea of what we're going to be looking at today, let's get started with a clip that I pulled from YouTube. It's about basket weaving in California and how the natives did that in the past. The video has some big words in it, but don't be scared. We're going to talk about it afterwards. I just want you to listen closely, and we're going to talk about the video when it's done playing. Here we go. All right, great job during the video. I saw everybody paying attention really well and really taking in what they were seeing. Now I know that's more of an adult kind of video, kind of serious, because there's not a whole lot of information about the traditional ways that the Native Americans were making baskets in California. So I just want you to go ahead and team up for a Think, Pair, Share, and just talk with your partner about some of the things you noticed about the video. Go ahead and get started. Great job on your Think, Pair, Share. I saw everybody really engaged, and I heard some interesting ideas as I went around the room and had small conferences with your groups. Let's go ahead and discuss some of the ideas that came up throughout these discussions. First, I want to point out this idea of the Native Americans being seen as a primitive people or a very simple people. And what the baskets show us, their intricate weavings and patterns, was that they weren't that simple. They may have seemed that way to an outsider coming in, but the Native American people were definitely a very complex society, very complex people, highly intelligent, and they are just astounding in all that they accomplished. There were also a lot of other great ideas that came up as I discussed this topic with the groups. Let me go ahead and take a look at my notes, and I'll read off some of the ideas that came up. Another idea was that the finest basket makers were asked to make baskets for really important events. We also talked about the fact that math is involved in making baskets. One idea I was really glad to hear coming from the video was that we realized that baskets have a relationship with the environment. And because these baskets have such a strong relationship with their environment, we can actually see a basket and know where it comes from because of the different materials used and where those come from in California. I also had some discussions with groups about the uses for baskets. From the video, we found out that baskets were used in hunting, for fishing, for carrying items, for cooking, for harvesting foods, for processing foods, and they were also given as gifts. Someone even noticed a little bit later on in the video that they were even used for boats. So baskets that were made into boats. Super interesting. We also talked about the fact that we need baskets to survive. That California has a lot of different plants, and these different places with different plants end up having different looking baskets. We also talked about the fact that making a basket is about more than just the basket. These Native Americans were not able just to go to the store and pick up the materials they needed for baskets. They also had to care for the plants to grow them, and they also had to take care of the land that they were on. This is also an art for the Native Americans. Not only were these used as tools to complete tasks, but they also made the baskets look beautiful. There are so many ideas in that video, and I'm really glad that we were able to capture a lot of them. What I'd like you to do next is go ahead for another Think, Pair, Share, and I'd like you to think about some of the uses that we have today for baskets. Think about your life. Have you ever seen a basket? And if you have, what was it used for? Go ahead and get started. Awesome job on your Think, Pair, Share. I heard a lot of interesting uses for baskets out there. One of the main ones was for laundry. I think we've all seen baskets used for laundry. Maybe we put our clothes in a basket in our room or in the hallway, and then we take that out to the washing machine and do our laundry. Another idea I heard was for picking fruit. So some of us go into the gardens, or we've seen people who work in fields where they collect food, and we use baskets to carry those items. And a really interesting idea I heard was that we maybe have replacements for baskets these days. We don't necessarily get a package from FedEx or for Amazon and have it show up in a basket. We usually have it show up in a box. So while we use baskets for some things, we've also kind of moved forward and found other things to use in place of baskets. This is very nice. Now that we've talked about baskets and how they were used and how they were made by the Native Americans, let's go ahead and make our own baskets. I'm going to go ahead and get out the materials and show you how we're going to get started. Then I'm going to go ahead and pass out the materials, and I'll work together with you to go ahead and get started on weaving our baskets. Now we're going to do a simplified version of weaving a basket, okay? We're not going to go out and plant some plants and wait an entire year for them to grow while we water them and take care of them. We're going to do a little bit of a simplified version just so you can get an idea of what weaving a basket is like. Let's go ahead and switch over to my other camera and I'll show you what it's going to look like. Okay, here we have our materials. First, we have tape, we have yarn, we have a marker, some scissors, and a cup, as well as a piece of paper. Now, what I'm going to do is start out by making some markings on our cup. And to do that, to see where I want to put my markings, I'm going to go ahead and draw a little circle around this cup. I want to get an idea of where I need to make my markings to cut. Now, it has to be an odd number of cuts. So let's go with 5 cuts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those all look like really good places to mark. And we're going to have 5 different pieces here. So let me go ahead and mark that on my cup. I'm going to put this back down. And I'm going to kind of mark where I had made those markings on the paper. Put them onto the cup. And there we go. Looks like I can see where those are. Cool. You can see the markings kind of right there where I did it. And that's where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and toss this piece of paper down. I don't think we'll need our marker anymore. And then we're going to cut. So we're going to find those places on the cup where we made our marks, and we're going to cut all the way to the bottom. There's that one. There's that one. Here's this one. And we are getting close to getting started on our basket, inspired by the Native Americans' basket making. Right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of spread these out. I think it works just a little bit better if you can kind of spread them out to start with. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces there. We're going to go ahead next and open up our yarn. I'll go ahead and be cutting lengths for everybody. And we got to find the start of our yarn, which is right there. And now we're going to go ahead and use a piece of tape. I know it's a big piece of tape. We've got to get some smaller tape for us, and I'm actually going to go ahead and cut this piece of tape. Set the scissors aside, and we're going to take our yarn. We're going to tape it into the bottom of the cup to go ahead and get started. Next, I'm going to take the yarn and pull it right down here to the bottom. Okay, right down at the bottom. And I'm going to start by going on the outside of this piece. And then I'm going to go on the inside of the next piece. And then I'm going to go on the outside of the piece after that. And then I'm going to go on the inside, or the outside, one after the other. Inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, and outside. So we're just going to keep going around, and we're going to try and keep our yarn kind of pressed more down towards the bottom as we go along. All right, here we go. I'm going to go inside, outside a whole bunch of times, and let's see how we do. Let's see, that was inside. There we go, outside, inside. Okay, I think that's looking pretty cool. I really like the way that those colors go from the red to the blue. How nice and warm and soft it is. Super cool. Let's go ahead and tie off the end, and we'll be done with our baskets. All right, let's go ahead and finish this up. I'm just going to take this piece of the yarn and go right to this last one there. I'm going to kind of make a gap in the strings, kind of pull them apart so I can pull my extra piece of yarn through. A nice little end piece there, which can be a little bit difficult, but that's okay. We don't give up around here. And that can tie it off. We'll give it a little cut. And there we are. What a nice, cool looking basket we got. All right, now that you're done with your baskets, I want you to go around and share your baskets with one or two other people. Describe how you made the basket. Well, I guess we know how we made the basket. I guess you could describe some of the problems you encountered, what you really like about your basket, what you would do next time around differently if you could do it again. And if we have time, some of you may do time in the future, I'll go ahead and make some other materials available, like bigger cups and different kinds of yarn for you to be able to make more baskets if you choose to do so. I hope you had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you got an idea of the kind of work it took that went into making baskets like the natives did. And I'd also like you to, when you're talking with your partners, to describe how you might use your basket and try and find a use for it, either here or at home. I'd really like to see what you come up with. Thanks so much for sticking with me throughout making this basket, and I'll see you in the next lesson.